The tea in this mug has been cold for at least an hour. I know it's cold, and I keep not drinking it, and I keep not getting up to heat it. That's most of evenings here. Sitting with something that's gone cold, not quite able to decide what to do with it. The refrigerator hums. The man upstairs is walking his dog. I can hear him dragging the leash toward the door, the dog's nails on the floor, the latch. Every night at 9. I know his schedule better than he knows mine. My name is Sandy Kowalczyk. I'm 64 years old. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment in Youngstown, Ohio, and I have been clean for 5 years and 8 months. I used to be the woman who made pierogi for the school fundraiser. The woman Dennis married when we were both 23 and didn't know anything yet about how fast a life can turn. The woman who showed up every morning for 18 years at the Youngstown City School District administrative offices and never, not once, missed a day without a phone call. I used to be a lot of things. There is a photograph on the refrigerator. Tyler. He is 8 years old in it at his third grade field trip to the Science Museum, squinting and grinning the way 8-year-olds grin when someone points a camera at them. He has Dennis's nose. He has my eyes. Tyler calls every Sunday. The other two, Diane and Marcus, they don't call. Diane will pick up if I call on a holiday. Marcus changed his number in 2018. I got the new one from Diane, but I have never used it. Some distances you build brick by brick over years, and then one day there's a wall there, and you both pretend it was always a wall. Let me tell you how it started, because it matters how it started. 2007. I was 45 years old. I'd been carrying boxes of enrollment files from the storage room to the HR office. Quarterly audit, the usual. Cardboard archive boxes, 25 pounds each. 8 boxes, 3 trips, the way we always did it. On the second trip, something shifted in my lower back. Not a crack, not a pop, just a giving way. Like a support beam that had been under too much weight for too long, finally saying, no more. L4, L5 herniated disc. That's what the MRI showed 6 weeks later. The pain was real. I want to be very clear about that, because everything that comes after depends on you understanding that. The pain was real. It was the kind of pain that woke me up at 2 in the morning and kept me lying on the floor, because somehow harder was better. Dr. James Petrocelli, our family doctor for 11 years, office on Market Street, beige carpet, a print of a covered bridge behind his desk, a jar of peppermint candies on the checkout counter. He called me Sandra instead of Sandy, and it always made me feel like I was in a little trouble. He looked at the MRI films for a long time. He said, Sandra, the disc is pressing on a nerve root. We'll refer you to physical therapy. In the meantime, I'm going to give you something for the pain so you can function while we work on this. He handed me a prescription for Vicodin, hydrocodone and acetaminophen, 5 milligrams, 3 times a day. He said, this is just until the surgery. The surgery never happened. Insurance kept delaying the pre-authorization. Then Dennis had his heart attack, and the surgery got postponed. Then the surgeon changed practices. Then Dr. Petrocelli retired. For 6 years, every 90 days, Sandra Kowalczyk, Vicodin 5 milligrams. Take as needed for pain. I told myself it was temporary every single time. Tyler was 14 when Dennis died. I need you to understand what that means in a house in Youngstown in 2009. Dennis was the one who took the boys to the hardware store, who watched football on Sunday, who fixed what broke and carried what was heavy. Marcus was 21, nearly out the door. Diane was 26, already in Columbus. Tyler was 14 years old and suddenly the man of the house, which is a terrible thing to put on a 14-year-old. I put it on him anyway because I didn't know what else to do. After Dennis, I held things together the way you hold a broken plate together with both hands. Very still, very careful, not breathing. You can't put a broken plate down. You just hold. The Vicodin helped with the holding. The back pain was real. But when Dennis died, the Vicodin also helped with something that didn't have a name in a prescription. It helped me stand up in the morning. It helped me cook dinner. It helped me sit through Tyler's parent-teacher conferences and not cry in front of strangers. Dr. Petrocelli never asked me about that. I never told him. I was managing. I was functional. I had a prescription. A prescription is not the same as a drug problem. By 2009, 2 years in, I couldn't sleep without one. Here is what I have not said out loud to anyone except the counselor at Meridian. The medicine cabinet in the hallway bathroom was not locked. It was never locked. Tyler was 17 in 2011. He was a junior at Cheney High. He played basketball, badly, but enthusiastically. He stayed home more than the other two had, closer to me, the way a child is when his father dies at 14 and his mother is managing things alone. I noticed the bottle was emptying faster than it should. I noticed. I counted once. I counted twice. I put the bottle in a different spot in the cabinet, and it was still going faster than my usage accounted for. I knew. I knew, and I did not do the arithmetic required. Instead, I thought, he took one, or two, for a headache maybe. Teenagers do that. It's not what? I never finished that sentence. The bottle kept emptying. I kept not finishing the sentence for 2 years. Let me tell you about the OxyContin. Dr. Petrocelli retired in 2011. The new prescription came from Dr. Carol Weiss, a rheumatologist at Mercy Health. She reviewed my chart, the MRI from 2007, 4 years of physical therapy notes, the chronic pain history. She said, Sandra, I think what we're dealing with here might be fibromyalgia compounding your disc injury. The Vicodin isn't strong enough for that combination. I want to try you on OxyContin, oxycodone extended release, more consistent coverage, better for chronic pain management, 20 milligrams twice a day. I remember the first time I took it. I was sitting at the kitchen table. Tyler was at practice. In 40 minutes, the pain in my back was not gone, but quiet. Like someone had turned the volume down on a television that had been playing too loud for so long, you'd stopped hearing it as noise and just accepted it as the sound of the room. That's the thing about oxycodone that nobody who hasn't needed it can understand. When you have real pain, structural pain, nerve pain, the kind that changes how you move and sleep and think, and something makes it quiet, even for a few hours, the relief is not recreational. It's closer to silence after a long time in a room where an alarm has been going off. I understand now that the silence is exactly the thing they use to get you. By 2012, I was on 40 milligrams twice a day. On a Thursday afternoon in April of 2013, Mercy Health called me. Tyler had been brought in by ambulance from the warehouse in Boardman. Oxycodone overdose, non-fatal. He was stable. I drove to that hospital and walked into the room where my son was lying with an IV in his arm, and I am ashamed to tell you what I thought. My first thought was, where did he get oxycodone? Not the right first thought. That came 3 seconds later, and I looked away from it because I could not look at it directly, like looking at the sun. I looked at my son instead. I held his hand. I told him I loved him and that we would figure this out together. A young doctor came in and asked, in the very careful way doctors ask when they're asking about something else, "Does Tyler have access to prescription opioids at home?" I said, "I have a prescription for my back. I keep it in the medicine cabinet." He looked at me for a moment. Then he wrote something in his chart. He never said the word. He wrote it down, but never said it to my face. I drove home at 2 in the morning. I went to the medicine cabinet. I counted 23 OxyContin 40 milligram tablets. I took one. I went to bed. When Tyler was little, I taught him things. That's what mothers do. I taught him to wash his hands, to make his bed, to cross the street, look left, look right, look left again. I taught him the prayers in Polish first, then English, so the words would live in 2 places inside him. I never taught Tyler that when the pain got too large to hold, you open the cabinet. I never said those words. I never sat him down and explained what I did when the grief and the back and the mortgage and the missing your father became more than I could manage in the dark. I just did it in front of him every day for years. A child doesn't need the lesson. He needs to see you take the lesson. Tyler repeated it in my own medicine cabinet. For 2 years before the overdose, and I found out in a family session at Meridian in 2019, for at least 2 years after, while he was still living in my house, while I was still not locking the cabinet, while I was telling myself we had addressed the problem because he'd gone to outpatient sessions and promised to stop. Dr. Weiss stopped renewing the prescription in late 2013. New guidelines, more scrutiny. She was going to taper me from 80 milligrams a day down to nothing over 6 months. I lost 11 pounds in the first 2 months. I was sweating through the sheets every night. There was a 3-day period in October where I couldn't get off the bathroom floor. She brought me back to 60 milligrams to stabilize. We tried again. I couldn't get below 40 milligrams without the floor coming up to meet me. In 2014, she transferred my care to a pain management clinic in Warren. They kept me at 40 milligrams and added a muscle relaxant. Functional enough to not fall apart, dependent enough to never not need it. The heroin was 2017. I need to say that directly. Ohio had started cracking down on opioid prescribing in 2015. They weren't wrong to do it. I understand now why they did it. But the system had created hundreds of thousands of people like me and had no plan for what to do with us when the prescriptions shrank. By late 2016, I was down to 20 milligrams a day. My body, after 9 years, needed more than that just to function. Not to feel good, just to not be in continuous grinding withdrawal. A woman from the church had a husband with late-stage cancer. She had excess. She offered. I said yes, knowing what it was. This is the part where I stopped having the defense that I was a patient with a prescription. That ran out in 2017. There was a man who worked out of a Dollar General parking lot on Market Street, 15 minutes from my house. Someone had given me his number. I don't know who. I have blocked that memory. He sold heroin. I am 64 years old, and I grew up in Polish Hill, Youngstown, and I made pierogi for the school fundraiser for 18 years. And in the winter of 2017, I was buying heroin from a man in a parking lot. February of 2017, 3 in the morning. I was in the bathroom under the fluorescent light. Tyler had moved out by then. Marcus hadn't spoken to me in 8 months. Diane called on Christmas. I had a piece of elastic from a sock tied around my left forearm. I had a syringe, the third time using the needle, though I had told myself only once. I was looking in the mirror over the sink. I looked at myself, and I thought, I know this woman. And then I thought, I don't. And this is the part I couldn't explain to the Meridian counselor for a long time, I thought, actually, yes, I do. This is exactly who this woman is. This has been who she is for years. She just kept a different story running alongside it, so she didn't have to look. I looked. I did not stop that night. There is a version of this story where the mirror moment is the moment of change. In the movies it is. I did not stop. I used the syringe. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I made coffee and I watched the Today Show and I put the elastic back in my sock drawer. I stopped in July of 2019, a year and a half later. After a night where I used too much and my neighbor called an ambulance because she heard a sound through the wall she couldn't describe except to say it scared her. They gave me Narcan. I came back enough. 28 days at Meridian Healthcare in Youngstown, then buprenorphine, Suboxone, for 18 months, taking the dependency apart 1 milligram at a time with a doctor who knew what she was doing. 5 years and 8 months. Tyler found out from Diane. He drove from Boardman at 2 in the morning. He was at the hospital before I was fully conscious. He was 31 years old, standing in that room, and he looked at me the way a son looks at a mother when he has realized that the fear he's been carrying for years has a shape. He held my hand. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, "You scared me, Mom." He said, 4 years, meaning his sobriety. He had been clean for 4 years. I said, "I know, baby, I know." Tyler calls every Sunday. We talk about his job, his girlfriend Alicia, the Cleveland Browns. We talk about everything except one thing. We don't talk about the cabinet. He has never asked me, "Mom, Did you know? And I have never said, Tyler, I knew. I have started sentences in the shower, at the kitchen table, while the refrigerator hums, and I am 64 years old, and the tea has gone cold. I have started, Tyler, I need to tell you something. Tyler, the cabinet, I put it down. I pick it up on Sunday, and I put it down again. I don't know if I'm protecting him or protecting myself. Probably both. My hands don't shake. That is one thing. My back still hurts. The surgery never happened, which means 26 years later, the nerve still talks to me in a language I understand as pain. I take ibuprofen. I don't sleep well, but I sleep. Melatonin, 10 milligrams at 9:30. I keep the medicine cabinet organized now. Ibuprofen, melatonin, vitamin D, everything labeled, everything in its place. The irony of this is not lost on me. The photograph of Tyler on the refrigerator. He is 8 years old and squinting into the sun. He has Dennis's nose and my eyes, and he is grinning because it is a field trip, and he is 8, and nothing has happened yet. What I know is this. I spent 12 years taking medicine prescribed to me by a doctor for a real injury. And in those 12 years, I taught my youngest child, without words, without intention, without ever once meaning to, that the cabinet was the answer to the question the body asks when the pain is too much. He learned it the way children learn the things we don't intend to teach, by watching. I should have locked it. The refrigerator hums. The man upstairs has come back with the dog. I can hear the nails on the floor, the scratch of the leash. The light over the parking lot is doing its flicker. The tea is cold, and I am not going to heat it. Tyler, there's something I have to tell you. He'll call at noon. He'll ask how I'm sleeping, and I'll say, okay, and we'll talk about work and Alicia and the Browns. And before we hang up, he'll say, love you, Mom. Stay safe. And I will say, love you too, baby. And we will not talk about the cabinet. Not yet.